Well, here we are. I'm excited to be back. It's been a lot that has taken place over the past few weeks. Um, a lot, a lot. So I had intensive week at school, which is what I normally have to do going into the new term, and that's always a joy. And then come off of that, and my wife has COVID. Listen, and we have 3-year-old twins. Thank God we were negative, the twins and I. But that meant I had the twins by myself. And that was a task. So it got me behind in my normal recording. It's been to say the very least, a very interesting 2 weeks. But I'm back. Excited to be back. Excited to talk about this next thing. I think this conversation I know I have with myself all the time. And I was like, you know what? I think I just want to share about this conversation because I don't think I'm the only one that kind of deals with this. And yeah, when I get into it, you'll kind of see where I'm going with this. But I'm just excited to be able to share. Here we are. I think this is our fourth episode, and it's been a joy and a journey at the same time. Both grateful. I'm grateful for it. Just being able to do it. Any rate, so I have. So let me back up. I think I might have shared this in one of the other episodes. I'm one of three siblings. I'm the middle child in my family. I have an older brother and a younger sister. And a lot of people say it's the middle child that has the lot going on. And it may be true. That may be true. Because I did have a lot going on. I stayed in trouble. And all of those things. And here we are. And so when I was younger, I had I used to suck my thumb, and I sucked my thumb up until I want to say my 20s. It was a place where I could go and find comfort. And so as a result of that, I had an overbite in my teeth. It affected my talk, so I had a lisp, and so consequently, going into school, I was always afraid to read out loud in class or talk in front of people because of the lisp that I had, and I got picked on because of that. And my teeth got picked on. And so that spawned a lot of inner conversations in myself. You have your parents and they tell you, hey, you're great, you're wonderful, you're just like God needs you to be. I had my parents doing that, and that was great. But you always want the affirmation of your peers. At least I did. I wanted the affirmation of my peers when I was in grade school. But I didn't get it. I got picked on a lot. And, that affected a good bulk of my life because, I had to go to speech therapy for this lisp that I had. And that mean I would have to leave out of class and go to another room to have speech and sit in front of a mirror and slow down my words and look at the way that I'm pronouncing words and how my lips are moving at a young age. And so you would everyone would know that you're leaving out to go to some type of thing that would help you to improve something, and then you come back to class, and so you missed out on a lot of things. And so that's how I kind of dealt with things. Fast forward, as I get older, the rejection never stops. It gets heavier and worse as I'm in high school, and I found myself in this place of just trying to fit in, just wanting to be accepted. That's all. And I think a lot of even now, a lot of teenagers and young people have this desire to fit in, and they want to fit in and be accepted by their peers. It's just a normal thing that we want. But what I did is I took it a step further, not just wanting to be accepted by my peers. I tried to morph into something that I was not. So I wanted to talk about this thing where we feel like we're not good enough. And I think inside of just that thought alone, there's a whole host of agents or reasons as to why this thought is formed. And I know, speaking for me, this thought was formed based out of the things that I experienced at a young age and even into my young adult years. And so I always found myself in this cycle of trying to live up to someone else's expectations, or because I felt like I wasn't good enough, I tried to morph into something that someone would to accept me. And so that looked different in different seasons, in different ways. And I would change my clothes. I would change the way that I talk, who I talk to, based on not feeling like I was enough. I was the only sibling in my household that went to a more predominantly white schools. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's what I did. And so I was around a lot of people my age who didn't come from where I come from and who had more that I did not have. I grew up in the projects, and then we moved into a newer neighborhood, which was like, we thought was the best thing ever. We moved into a house. But then I was going to school with children who were car riders. Like the simple things like that, who were car riders, who brought their lunch to school, and they did things on the weekend, like things that we or I wanted to do on the weekend. They went on vacations, all of those type of things. And not to say that I wasn't able to experience those type of things, but not at the level that they were. And so I was trying to adjust to this all around me. And so I think for me that most of the time when this thought is formed that I'm not enough, it comes from the life experiences that we have had to endure. And out of whether it's just being accepted or rejection, this thought begins to take root in you, and you see life from that lens. So everything you do and everything you say is really not you. And so now you find yourself lost in this maze of who am I really? Like, in one season, I was dressing like this and I was doing this. In one season, I was with this crowd of people and I was trying to be like them. And you lose who you are. Like, you don't know who you are. And so now you compound with trying to navigate just living life with people around you and trying to find yourself in it. And if you don't figure this out before I believe I didn't find this out until I came back to Christ. Because when I was in the world, I felt like that was the right thing to do, to try to fit in. Like, let me make myself look like this so I could be with this crowd. Let me go buy this certain thing so I could be with this certain crowd. But then when I came back to Christ and started my relationship with God, it was like all that went out the window. And so now you're left with, or I was left with, trying to figure this thing out. Like, wait, I don't have the crowd that I used to hang with no more because that wasn't the right crowd at the time. And now it's not the right crowd. And so now I have to find out who I am. And so then that opens the door for, here it is, comparison. Oh, boy. And so I found out that it's better when you figure out that you've been living up to somebody else's expectations early on than when I found out, because then it's harder to break those paradigms down, or that mindset down, because you've been doing it for so long. Like, it was over years. It wasn't like a thing that I did over 2 or 3 days. It was over years that I was doing and creating this default setting in me. And so here I am trying to figure out who am I? Like, I don't feel like I'm enough, and the reason why is because everybody else seeing this a fault in me. Like, there's something wrong with me, whether it was my lisp, whether it was my teeth, whether it was how I dressed, where I came from. Like, something's wrong with me. I am not right. This is what it creates in your mind. And so when I came back to Christ, he opened my eyes to this, and this thing called rejection. Like, rejection will take you through some things, and you won't even realize that you're living life based off of a lie. That's the thing about rejection. Rejection is a lie from the pit of hell. Like, sometimes rejection is a good thing, but the devil likes to use rejection as a way to say, yeah, you're not enough. So that's why they didn't accept you. There's something wrong with you. And that's why you're not looked at, or that's why you're not called on. And so you walk around with this complex thinking that you are just not enough. And that's how I was. And the crazy thing about it, am I fully over it? No. And the reason why I'm not fully over it, now it goes back to what I was saying. It's something that was been going on for years. So it just doesn't go away in 2 or 3 days. So you're left with, so wait, I think I want to, okay, let me do this. So Psalms 139, it says, "For you formed my inward parts. You wove me in my mother's womb. I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works, and my soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in secret and skillfully wrought in the depths of the earth. Your eyes have seen my unformed substance, and in your book were all written the days that were ordained for me, when as yet there was not one of them. How precious also are your thoughts to me, O God. Let's unpack that. So the world says that you're not enough, that you need to live up to this standard of what the world perceives is enough. The world throws all these things at us, and they do it subconsciously as well too. Like, it's so like under the radar, like in the commercials, in the advertising of things, and it's really subtle how they do it. The world is always putting you in this place where you're trying to always live up to something. But when I read this scripture and I read how God formed my most inward parts, he wove me in my mother's womb, and then he says that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. So when you break that down, that means, hey, Marieno, listen, I know you might think that something's wrong with you. I know you might feel like you are not being accepted, and you might feel like people have turned their back on you and people don't like you. And you may have had those experiences. I'm not taking it away from you. But I want you to know that just the way you are, I did it on purpose. Like, I didn't make no mistake. Everything you do, every quirk you have, every part of you, I did that. That's what God says in this particular scripture. Like, he didn't make no mistakes. He made not one mistake. And so here it is. Whenever we get this thought of I'm not enough, you're saying that God messed up. You're saying that God made a mistake. But the reality is God didn't make no mistake. He didn't make no mistake. He created you just like he needed you to be. And the root of it is not really that I'm not enough. The root of all of it is I'm not being accepted. The root of it is people won't bring me into their group or into their circle. But this scripture is saying, no, listen, you are already known by me. You don't need somebody else to tell you that you are known. I've already qualified you. I've already made you known. You're already known by me. And the epiphany of this is that if the God of the universe knows you, it really don't matter if Jim down the street or Sue at the gym doesn't know you. And every gift and everything that I do, God placed it in me for a purpose and on purpose, that there was no flaw in it. So I don't need you to accept me for me to know that I am accepted. Oh my God. Now, again, I ain't quite got all the way there. And the reason why is for something that took place for years, it takes time to get over it. So there are moments when it will pop up, but this is where you have to go back to scriptures like this, and you have to rehearse them in your head, and you have to do the hard work of being consistent to cast down those thoughts that like to pop up. You have to be very consistent in that. It's not a one-time deal. It's not, and that's what I'm learning. For me, I just wanted to happen overnight, but it didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight. This goes back to when I was in grade school. Like, I'm talking about elementary school, and now I'm 44, and you think that you're going to be able to change something in 2 or 3 weeks or even a month or even a year? That's not going to happen. That's where consistency comes in. And God didn't make any mistakes. He just didn't make any mistakes. So I am enough. So even though my life experiences may have cultivated or planted this seed or into me to believe that I'm not enough, God comes in and does the groundwork and say, yeah, so listen, nope, let's dig that up. And I want you to replace that seed with this seed, because what you're thinking is nothing but a weed. It's clouding out what I got you to do and I want you to do, what I need you to do. And so you can't walk fully in your purpose because you're trying to morph into everything else. You're trying to be everything else. Like, by nature, I teach. That's what I do. By nature, I was a teacher. I love to see the light bulb go off in somebody's head. I'm a psychology major. By nature. That's just what it is. So I can't try to go out and be something that I'm not. I have to walk in what God created me to be, uniquely me. It's me. And the reality is there's nobody else in the earth like you. There's nobody that has a fingerprint like you. There's nobody that has a eye pupil like you. There's nobody else in the world like you. So what you're doing is you're shortchanging the people around you when you're being somebody else. No, let them see the full you. And that's what I'm trying to walk into. And so this this podcast, like, you can even get caught up into all these people got all these things going on. They're doing this podcast like this, out of this and that. It's what I said in the first episode. Like, there's so many podcasts out here. What makes somebody want to come watch mine? It's because it's mine. It's me. There's not another Marieno out there. When God created me, he broke the mold. That's it. I am it. So even if somebody doesn't accept me, it still doesn't put any type of thing on who I am. It doesn't dictate who I am. It doesn't mean something's wrong with me. No, that just means I'm not for you. That's it. That just means I'm not for you. And I'm okay with that. I got to be okay with knowing that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. You are not everybody's cup of tea. And you got to be okay with that. We just simply got to be okay with that. That doesn't mean that they rejected you. That just means they can't handle you. That you're just not for them for this season, or they may not even be for you for the season. And so God sometimes uses rejection to protect us. But we don't want that. We look at rejection and I know for me, I fell into this victim role. Like, oh man, why everybody treating me like this? And instead of just sitting down and having a conversation with God and say, Yeah, so Lord, this happened. Can you tell me why it happened? Am I missing something? Is there something you're trying to show me in this? Because we'll find everything we need to know if we just ask God. Remember, so this whole podcast is based off of that God is having conversation with us in our life moments. He's practically speaking if we're willing to listen. So like this thing of I am not enough is like a lie. It's you are enough. We are enough. I am enough. That's the thing. You're already known. You're already known. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. He didn't say you're fearfully and we got to change that about you. No, wonderfully made. Like to him, there's no mistake in you. Now, I'm not saying we don't make mistakes. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that God sees us in the way that he created us. And he expects us to walk in that way, to act in that way. Because he can't use when you're being somebody else. Why would you want to be a copy? Why would you want to be a copy? And so let's talk about this comparison thing. This all goes hand in hand. It's like a domino effect. Like I don't feel like I'm enough, so I'm feeling rejected. So then if I feel rejected, then I see somebody who's doing something like I wish I can do. I start comparing. So not only am I like outside of what God has asked me to be and who I am, and I'm trying to morph into all these different things, now I'm upset because I don't have what you have. And so I'm sitting in the crowd or something and I'm seeing you do something that I wish that I could do only because I want some people to accept me like they're accepting you because you're in front of them. And I see that they're giving you accolades and they're recognizing you and they're clapping for you. And so I want that. That's real talk. That's real talk. That's real talk. That's the stuff that I find myself in sometimes. Yep. And so the thing about comparison is that you're never satisfied. You're never satisfied. You're going to find yourself in this cycle where you're always remaking, reforming, reshaping, rethinking, re-exploring, jumping on the next wave, the next trend of something, just to be accepted. Just to be accepted. Let me dress like this. Let me act like this. Let me talk like this. And the thing about it is that falls into even when you come back to Christ, then you start going to this church and that church. And I'm going with this crowd. I'm going with that crowd. Because you never dealt with you're not enough. You never dealt with it. Yeah. So the statement that I think that changed my life was comparison kills contentment. When I compare, I'm not in a place of peace. I'm not in a place where I'm rested. But I find myself frazzled by everything around me. Comparison kills contentment. Like that's where the rubber meets the road, and we have to be willing to step outside of the statement. And so, wait, a disclaimer, and I think I briefly said it. The the thought never goes anywhere. That's the thing about God, that sometimes he won't take it away because he's using it to build you up. So the thought doesn't stop. It's not going to stop. All of what happens is it weakens. It's the more you're consistent with what God says you are, it weakens it. And then you start developing these new neurons and pathways in the brain that tells you that you are enough, because you've been rehearsing the same thing day in and day out. It's being consistent with it. It's being disciplined with it. So my family, so the word of the year for us is discipline. And most people are scared of that word. I'm gonna be honest. When we felt like the Lord gave us that word, yeah, we were a little nervous as well. But when you think about it, and when you actually do it, when you're disciplined at something, like, so many opportunities, so many doors open up, so many things change around you, because when you're disciplined. Let's just talk about when you're working out. If I'm disciplined and working out and eating healthy, what is the result? My body looks like I want it to look, and I feel good. I don't feel upset because I can't fit the clothes the way I want them to fit, and so I'm searching through the closet. I feel like I don't have any clothes because my body is out of shape. See, all of it's a domino. It's connected. So discipline, being disciplined. And so that's just what it comes down to. And this scripture, Psalm 139, listen, hey, like, commit that to yourself. Commit that to yourself. My frame was not hidden from you. My frame was not hidden from you. That means before we came into the earth, everything was just like it was supposed to be. Before we were born, before we was placed in the womb, and then we came into the earth. And once we got into the earth, everything got started connecting to us. Just thinking about my twins, I remember the first time they ever felt wind. When I took them outside and this thing started blowing on them, they were trying to eat it. Like, first time ever feeling wind. Like, it was hilarious. Like, that's how it should feel with God. Like, hey, life has threw you some things, and the residue of those things are on you. But I want you to know that even in the residue, that I'm much bigger than that. That I've created you for a purpose, and you are enough. And the residue of your life experiences and your traumas don't make up who you are. And what people do and say about you don't make up who you are. It's what I say about you. You're fearfully and wonderfully made. There's no flaws in you. When I created you just like I needed you to be. And so when we take on the mindset that I'm not enough, and we start questioning if we're enough, then we're questioning the Creator. And how silly is it that the creation is questioning the Creator? That's like the toaster oven asking a question to the manufacturer. Well, how come I'm not black like the other toaster? I know that's a really silly example, but the gist of it is, you are the creation. He's the creator. So I don't think that he made any mistakes in his creation. And that's what I have to come to understand. And I got to stay consistent in it to know that I'm already known. God has already accepted me. So even if you don't accept me, that's cool. Cool beans. I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to walk with you. Still going to speak to you. Still going to help you if you need help. I'm just not your cup of tea. And I'm okay with that. Or at least I gotta be okay with that. And then I gotta put in perspective, is this really rejection or is this me making it rejection so that I can play the victim? And don't get addicted to your story. Like sometimes I find myself getting addicted to my story. Like let me stay talking about this rejection thing. No, yeah, it is what it is. It happened. Let's keep it moving. Let's don't keep rehearsing it. Like, all right, let's keep it going. I just felt I needed to have that conversation because, I deal with it. I still deal with it. And trying to navigate just making sure you're enough. And my wife has to build me up. I'm so thankful for my wife. She has to build me up because you can feel undervalued. You can feel like you're not qualified. You can feel overlooked. And sometimes you gotta have the right people in your corner who can speak into you, because sometimes it's not enough for you just to do it. Sometimes you need somebody else there who's speaking into you as well. And so that's what it comes down to. And I felt like I needed to have that conversation in this space, because one of the things about it, about me and about this whole space is being vulnerable enough to know that I don't have it all together. I don't have it all together. I'm still growing. I'm progressively doing what I believe God has asked me to do. And that's progressively going into a direction. God sees me one way, but down here on earth, I'm not there yet. I haven't made it there yet. I won't make it there until I see him at the gates. So I'm progressively trying to get to where God sees me. That's what salvation is. It's progressively growing. It's progressively moving out of these default settings that we have formed in ourselves based on what the enemy has told us, based on what life has told us, and moving into where God sees us. So the reality is God sees us through his son's eyes. And if his son, who is perfect, how do you think God see you? He's not looking at you just through you, because we're as filthy as rags, is what the Bible say. Like we're imperfect. That's it. Like we're flawed as human beings. But God looks at us through his son's righteousness. And so when he looks at you, he looks at his son and his daughter. He smiles. I was having a conversation with somebody about how we see God. And for a good bulk of people I have conversations with, they see God as God. Like he's up in heaven and he's lording over us. But he's so much more than that. He's so much more than that. He's a father. He's a counselor. He's a friend. He's peace. He's joy. He's strength. And so I think when we move away from looking at him just lording over our life, which he is, and start looking at him more relational, like how we are here with one another. If I look at him as my father, then I'm expecting him to live up what the fathers do. Now, hey, so this is the disclaimer, because I had this conversation too. Not all of us come from a household where we have great fathers. I get it. I so get it. So when we see a father, we see some messed up stuff. And so you're telling me to look at God the way that my father treated me, which was not good. How do we get past that? Realizing that God is not human. God is not human. He is not who your earthly father was and is. He is not that. And I'm not saying that happens overnight. That's another thing. But I'm saying that's where trust and faith comes in. That I'm just going to trust and believe that he's not like my father. And God is willing to wait on you trusting him. That's the crazy thing about it. Like, God is faithful enough to say, so yeah, I know you ain't got there yet. I know you still kind of looking at me like your father, and he did some wrong things to you, was not there for you. But that's okay. I can wait. I can walk with you still. So it's through God's actions that he show you that he's not like your earthly father. Because did you wake up this morning? Did a door open that you was not expecting to open? Are you lacking anything? Is your health intact? You might have experienced something with a family and there was a sickness that came on the family and it was very heavy when you got the diagnosis, but God walked with you through that. He uses these moments to show that he's not like our earthly fathers who missed the mark. He's so faithful. He's so patient. And so, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I just want y'all to, remember I told y'all at the beginning, I just want y'all to walk with me through this. We're going to walk together through this thing and see what the end is going to be. And so I'm excited about it. I think I'm gonna have to do another episode because not on this, but I'm gonna have to catch up because we're behind an episode. So be on the lookout for the next episode. And until the next time, y'all keep doing what you're doing. Keep believing God. Keep trusting God, and know that you are enough. That you're already known. That God has already qualified you. So even if they don't want you, he does. And he has your back in all things. I can't wait to see y'all on the next one. Listen, go be blessed. It's going to be good. This is Marieno out, practically speaking. Love y'all. Can't wait to see you.